Take a deep breath for me. Hello, I'm Kwan Siu. Chapter 8. Go with the Flow. 31st May 2022, Tuesday. I was alone. He was waiting for me when I arrived. As I entered, he closed the door. With only an economy of words, he instructed me to loosen my dress and lie down while he threw me a blanket and dimmed the lights. I was anxious, yet he took his time. He had delicate hands, something I failed to notice before. Take a deep breath for me, he said gently in his rich, dark voice. I did as I was told, confident that if I followed his commands obediently, all would end quickly. But wait, there was someone else in the room, quietly watching from an unobtrusive corner, avidly observing what was going on. Just as abruptly as the lights were dim, the nurse turned them on again. Your kidney looks great. The stent has done its job, Dr. Dewar exclaimed as he put away the probe of the ultrasound machine. You can make anything by writing, quoted C.S. Lewis. Walking back to his desk, Dr. Dewar noticed my cabin-sized bag, which was transparent. Your bag. It is transparent. He must have missed that when he was handling it for me when we were at AMC last month. Yes, it is. I received this a lot. I don't think I can travel with a transparent bag. I wouldn't want anyone to see my undies. A natural reaction, I supposed. Well, how much of what you pack consists of undies? I couldn't help myself. Not just that. I usually don't fold my clothes properly and just stuff them into the bag. This is why I always need a hotel that provides iron. Well, there you go. Dr. Dewar was a sloppy traveller, which surprised me because he was always very well put together. To be honest, I didn't set out to look for a transparent bag myself. Between the both of us, Yoda was the family shopper. He loved shopping. I shop only when I needed something, but he could walk around malls for hours or scroll through websites for weeks. He did research, make comparisons, read reviews, etc. Shopping was never a quick and straightforward activity for him. He was the ultimate intelligent shopper. If he didn't build swimming pools, he would make a great personal shopper. Hence, when I needed a cabin-sized bag, obviously, I entrusted him to find a good one for me. A transparent bag was the last thing I expected. When the bag arrived, he tried everything he could to persuade me to keep it, citing excellent maneuverability, fantastic lightness, the empty bag can be lifted with one finger, and the fact that it would definitely stand out among the luggage clones at the airport. Like everyone else, I was not sure I liked others knowing what I pack in my bag. But him being him, he just shrugged it off with, not that you're going to pack a ton of cash like the mafia, although we joke about filling it with lingerie and watching bystanders' reactions as I walk around the departure hall, or, more interestingly, filling the bag with lingerie and having him walk around the departure hall with it. Throughout the years, the bag served its purpose and still is very frequently used due to its lightweight and easy maneuvering. So he was right to pick this bag. One feature we didn't account for, it was also a conversation starter everywhere. Several times at various airports, airport security jokingly questioned the need to x-ray the bag since they were already seeing everything inside. On the train, when I left the bag on the luggage rack, passengers who passed by liked to squint into it, possibly trying to find my undies. 10 out of 10 people I had a conversation with about the bag said they would not want a transparent bag because, like Dr. Dewar, they preferred others not being able to see their undies. Apparently, this was everyone's only concern with a transparent bag, like they travel with nothing but undies. Having used the bag for several years now, I had to question them, out of their luggage content, how many % were undies. But sometimes I like to be naughty. When asked how I hide my undies from the curious eyes of other travelers, I told them it was very simple. I didn't wear any. I was back at the ward where I stayed when I had my surgery. Nothing changed. Some of the nurses remembered me, and I received a warm welcome. After more than 1 month, it was time to remove my stent. No one knew how my ureter would be after that. It could have been straightened and remained that way, or it could curl back up to its original position. I was surprised I was confronting this nonchalantly. This time I had accepted that I had no control over how my ureter would behave, and considering no adult was known to have a ureter like mine, I could not even find it on the internet. Dr. Dewar had been as forthcoming as he could be with what he knew, and he was honest in admitting, throughout his career as a urologist, that spanned more than 3 decades. He had not come across a urethra like mine. We had to leave everything to fate now. I didn't know how long I would be here. After what happened following the failed standing back in April, Dr. Devo didn't want to take any chances. There would be absolutely no consideration at all for a day procedure. I was to complete 3 days of intravenous antibiotics before my stent removal, a procedure done via cystoscopy under GA, making sure I was free from infection before that was a priority to him. 1st June 2022, Wednesday. After breakfast, a non-nursing staff came into my room and gave me the meal sheet to order my meals for tomorrow. This was a daily luxury at a private facility. Although I paid little attention to it, I stared at the piece of green paper blankly, struggling to make a choice. Dr. Devo did not impose any dietary restrictions on me, and that was the challenge. I did not know what I wanted to eat. Tomorrow was still more than 20 hours away. What if I ordered something and found no love for it tomorrow? This was what being idle did to me. I became indecisive and fickle, even over the least important things. All who were close to me would know I ate to live. A meal to me was just a means to make sure I didn't starve, not unlike pumping petrol into a car for it to move. When I was with Yoda, he would order for me. I didn't much care what I ate. When I was with other people, I would let them decide on the menu and let the waiter suggest what I should eat. If I found myself at a food court, I would go to the least popular store so that I didn't have to wait long for my food. I was totally at ease with eating alone, hence I had no need to stress myself into looking for someone to eat with. Yoda ordered my meals for me during my earlier admissions, but I couldn't remember what I ate. Still staring at the meal sheet, I ordered what I would usually order for my children: cereal and toast for breakfast, fish and chips for lunch, and pasta bolognese for dinner. This small little decision-making was such an achievement for me. Dr. Dewo came by to see me in the evening, and we ran through what was going to happen, although many occurrences were still unpredictable. When I arrived yesterday, Dr. Dewo had confirmed with ultrasound that my kidney had fully drained, and there was no retention of fluid anymore. The stent did its job well. However, if the urethra curved back to its original position, or still partially curved, it would create an environment for fluid to retain again. Hence, there was a possibility that I needed to have the stent back in for a longer time. There was also the complication of why my infection didn't settle. Knowing there would be no immediate answers, I accepted this obscurity and had no choice but to take things one day at a time. 2nd June 2022, Thursday. For the first time, I was prepared for this hospital stay. I had my laptop, my fully loaded Kindle, and my comfort food, mostly a collection of junk like chocolate wafers, cookies, and almond milk to keep me company. My antibiotic drip started yesterday. It didn't come without side effects, and Dr. Dewo told me I should look out for them. I was given this before in my previous admissions, and I knew I suffered from nausea and vomiting, of varying levels of severity. I hope it will be better this time, considering my improved vigor. Also, with the intravenous paracetamol, which worked exceedingly well, my abdominal pain had gone into hiding. I was able to have uninterrupted naps, yet I couldn't understand why I was fatigued all the time. I blame my lack of appetite on antibiotics, and I also blame my exhaustion on antibiotics. In fact, I blamed the antibiotic for everything that didn't go right. That way, I was able to stop myself from overthinking into anxiety, or worse, depression. You don't have to control your thoughts. You just have to stop letting them control you, quoted Dan Millman. Are you feeling all right? Asked Dr. Dewo when he came to see me in the evening. Why wouldn't I be? You made sure of it. Are you bored? Gosh, your room is so quiet. You don't even have the TV on. Quiet is good. I rather get quiet. He was waiting for his OT slot to start. It was kind of him to drop by to keep me company, and I was grateful. Even with all that I had to keep me occupied, the absence of human interaction had at times triggered my anxiety. It often started with an increased pulse rate followed by heavy breathing. If I was not able to keep it under control, it would very quickly escalate to nausea, numbness, and gastritis. Dr. Dewo had no idea how much his presence calmed my being. This evening, I asked him, why urology? His why was very intriguing, but it was a tale for another day if he let me write his biography. I was sure it would be inspiring because Dr. Dewar was no ordinary doctor. Like every human being, he had been through many ups and downs in life. Despite the many facts he shared openly about himself, Dr. Dewar was a very private person. I was not a busybody, but I was very good at listening to what one didn't say. Anyway, this book is not about him, it is about me. The most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said, quoted Peter Drucker. 3rd June 2022, Friday. WhatsApp. Kendra said, "How are you?" I said, "So far, so good. No complaints." Kendra said, "Please use my password to log into my Netflix account. You cannot be doing nothing. I won't allow it." I said, "I am catching up on my reading." Kendra said, "Consider it as taking a break from reading." I believed she was more concerned if I would go into overthinking mode. Kendra was a most generous friend, stubbornly loyal and unconditionally supportive. Since our school days, she had been tenacious and ambitious, and she never stopped. She knew what she wanted and would not settle for anything less. This was why, when she realized her first marriage was not working, she had to get out. She believed two people in a relationship had to grow together, and when her ex-spouse made no effort to advance himself while she continued to progress, she knew that if she stayed in the relationship, they would one day turn into strangers, just tolerating each other. The problem isn't really changed. It's whether two people change in the same direction, quoted Sean Murphy, the good doctor. Unlike many, Kendra was brave enough to marry again. This new husband didn't give me a good impression, but Kendra was happy, and I didn't like to judge. Although I was married, I had past relationships that didn't work out. Hence, I knew better than to pretend to be an expert in the relationship of others. However, when he physically assaulted her, I was glad she had the good sense to leave immediately for the hospital and then to the police station. For more than a decade she was with him, his abusive nature didn't surface. On the day I went with Kendra to the High Court for their divorce hearing, seeing him once again, I was astonished that such a quiet, well-mannered man was capable of violence. Looked like we would never really know a person. As a woman, I am grateful to live in a progressive society today. Imagine what Kendra had to go through if she was not permitted to leave her husband. "The worst prison in the world is a home without peace," quoted Mahatma Gandhi. Kendra believed it didn't matter who we have in our life as long as we learn to be comfortable being on our own. Having someone should supplement and complement our existence, but it shouldn't be our entire existence, and I agree with her. Being here alone without distraction, I had plenty of time to contemplate life and relationships. From a young age, we were brainwashed by fairy tales into believing in happily ever after when we met the one. Everyone entered a marriage with the delusion that love was all we needed. Being a wife for 20 years, I realized love was not enough to sustain a marriage. I believed respect was the foundation on which a marriage should be built. We didn't need to agree with each other all the time, but it was important that we respect each other. Kendra and I had been friends for more than 3 decades, and she understood me more than anyone else. She knew my mind would wander when left alone without purpose, and she was right. However, this time, I felt that I needed it. This afternoon of contemplation was good for me. It enabled me to appreciate the value of isolation and self-reflection. Maybe I could watch a bit of Netflix now. "Be a rainbow in someone else's cloud," quoted Maya Angelou. If Dr. Dewar hadn't announced it, I would not have realized today was already my 3rd day here because I enjoy my uninterrupted reading so much. This was what the power of acceptance could do to us, turning a bad situation into a good one. "Everything is great. We can remove your stent tomorrow if I can get Gas to steal an OT slot," said Dr. Dewar. I was glad it was Dr. Gas. I like her, although having a favorite anesthetist sounded somewhat wrong. Just so you know, I was not in the habit of enjoying getting myself gassed. In fact, if you remember, that was the very essence of what triggered the start of my anxieties. Our anxiety does not come from thinking about the future, but from wanting to control it, quoted Khalil Gibran. 4th of June 2022, Saturday. Nail by Mouth. It was stunt removal day. While waiting at the staging area for my turn at the OT, I saw a patient being wheeled out with bags of bladder irrigation saline hanging on a pole at the foot of his bed. Seeing that made me shiver. Would I need that after my turn at the OT? Then I saw Dr. Devo come out after him. Looked like I wasn't Dr. Devo's first patient at the OT, although it was very early in the morning. When I was finally moved to the OT, I noticed there were fewer people, probably because stent removal was a quick and simple procedure. At least I saw Dr. Devo in there this time, and together with Dr. Guest, they very quickly moved me to the operating table. I want everything new for this patient. We are not to use any recycled items, he announced nonchalantly while walking around the room. What? Recycled? I asked, but I didn't think he heard me. This was not the time to joke, doctor. Then the gas mask was placed over my face and I was out. I woke up alone in my room with the blood pressure cuff still attached to my arm. The serenity was interrupted by beeps from the blood pressure monitor. I didn't know how long I slept. I remember I was awake for a few minutes after the procedure and a nurse spoke to me post-op. But I didn't remember anything else, not even the long journey back to my room. I turned slowly to check the readings on the blood pressure monitor. According to the record on the screen, I was back almost 2 hours ago, and that was when the machine started recording my vitals. Everything looked good, and I relaxed a little. I didn't move very much for fear of triggering waves of nausea. Although I did not mention it to anyone, I also secretly feared waking up to intense shivering or acute pain as experienced after both of my procedures earlier in the year, so this calm awakening was comforting. Dr. Devo had not come to see me immediately after the procedure, or maybe he had and I was groggy, or he could be running a carousel inside the OT, which was not unlike him. He was known to schedule surgeries back to back. Although he was capable and had the drive to do more than the average surgeon, I had this secret fear of him mixing all of us up. Anyway, I was sure he would come to tell me all about my procedure later. I was not eager to know, so there was no rush. This afternoon was pleasant because Wano came to visit. The one visitor restriction was still in operation, although it didn't affect me very much. It's Saturday. I expect Yoda to be here, said Wano as soon as she came in. He's busy, I replied. Too busy to see his wife who just came out from the OT? He has an ongoing project that he couldn't get away from. It's fine, I am just taking naps here anyway. But she was not to be deterred. She took out her phone and called Yoda. Where on earth are you? Your wife just came out from the OT and you don't think you should be here? She berated him like he was a child skipping school. It was very entertaining for me to watch. The thing was, Yoda had a very intense work ethic. He approached all his tasks with thoroughness and attention to detail. He always went above and beyond what was expected of him, and he was unshakably persistent when faced with setbacks. To say it simply, he took pride in producing outstanding work. He didn't give up easily, which made him an excellent engineer. I remembered the evening before our wedding. Instead of being home, he was 500 kilometers away, only on his way back from a job. Not to mention both times when I was in labor, and he was still getting work done in the office. It used to upset me, but as we grew in our relationship, I learned not that he didn't care. It was just that he was very confident his self-sufficient wife could take care of herself while he went about fulfilling his role as a provider and his responsibilities to his customers. Over the years, I learned to understand his passion and ambition and accepted that they were part of who he was and that he would need my encouragement and support. I learned that when we marry our partners, we also marry their goals, their beliefs, and their point of view. I learned that communicated expectations were essential in a partnership. When you love someone, you love the person as they are and not as you like them to be, quoted Leo Tolstoy. After the comical phone call between Wano and Yoda, we were back to me. Have you been to pee after your procedure? I have not even got down from the bed. I don't think I can walk unassisted. Right that moment, one of the nurses, Natasha, came in to tell me I needed to pee. Doctor's order. Yesh, I was trying to put this off for as long as possible due to my bucket of unending fears, but time was up. Natasha helped me to the toilet. I expected pain and blood, but there were none. Everything was normal. Words couldn't describe the level of relief that washed over me. Towards the evening, Dr. Devo finally had time for me. Here's a picture of your ureter while the stent was still in there. My ureter was straight, normally straight. It was magnificent. Of course, I couldn't see my ureter in the X-ray image, but I could see the stent. However, the second image he showed me was not a happy one. As soon as I removed the stent, your ureter started to kink back. Not as extreme as its original form, but it didn't remain straight. I was surprised at how calm I was receiving this news, despite silently asking myself, after all that I had been through, would it have been for nothing? Dr. Dewo filled the silence with his thoughts and explanations. At the moment, there is no retention in the kidney. That is one objective achieved. I am going to monitor your kidney for the next few days and see where we go from here. What will I expect to happen? There could be no change. Then we have nothing to worry about. A small kink will not cause much retention, but over these few days, if the kink increases in intensity or back to its original form, we might need to insert the stent again and keep it there for a longer time. Horror, horror! There was nothing I could do but wait. 5th June 2022, Sunday. This was the quietest Sunday I had in a very long time. Dr. Dewo came to see me after his prayers at the temple. Apart from my poor appetite, everything seemed fine. I had not peed out blood, no temperature, and no pain. Well, even if there were, the paracetamol was hiding them. Anyway, I was on a very strong, broad-spectrum antibiotic. It would be a disaster if there was still an infection. After making his rounds around the hospital, Dr. Dewo requested that I be sent to his office. He was waiting by his ultrasound machine when Jasmine, the nurse, wheeled me in. What are we looking for? I asked, knowing the ureter, a hollow organ, could not be visualized from an ultrasound scan. The retention in your kidney. If there's fluid retention, it means the ureter has kinked back, and now it is more distended than yesterday. That was not a jolly observation. Nothing could be done at that moment. I had a few more days of antibiotics and observation. I would just have to wait, at the same time stubbornly willing my ureter to behave. As I passed by Dr. Dewo's desk, I saw printed sheet music. Being an avid hobby pianist, I couldn't help but ask, "Do you play?" Yes, although I have little time for it now. What genre? Classical? I like the challenging ones. Yeesh, you're such an overachiever. Good for my fingers for surgery. I cannot believe all these are just an elaborate exercise routine. Why was I not surprised? He later sent me a link to an orchestral piece by his favorite composer. After listening to it, it was a very long piece. I could understand his obsession. Even though I had a deep appreciation for classical music, I seldom play them because I had a love-hate relationship with reading sheet music. I was constantly enthralled by musicians who could learn new music quickly from sight reading. Being gifted with the ability to play by ear, I had grown lazy and made little effort in sight playing. I loved my piano. I played every day when I was at home, and I enjoyed the challenge of learning a new song by ear every time, but I wouldn't call myself an extraordinary musician. Although I played occasionally for social events, I was first and foremost a hobby pianist. I found that creativity was a very effective antidote to anxiety. Music is one of the longest-standing self-prescribed therapy in history, quoted U-R-ine Seibert. 6 June 2022, Monday. Both my arms had started bruising again from the dreaded cannulas. This was something that couldn't be avoided in the hospital. As usual, Dr. Dewo came by in the morning to inform me that he wanted to see me at his office sometime in the afternoon. I spent the morning reading. Throughout my time here, I had finished 4 books, which I had tried to read for years but didn't find time to. I was grateful for this interest. I knew it was not for everyone. To me, books were portable magic. They entertain, they teach, They occupy, but most profoundly, they brought me to places I couldn't reach. Reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary, quoted Jim Rohn. Your kidney is more dilated today, observed Dr. Devo as the ultrasound probe glided across my abdomen. Not the words I like to hear. What now? We will continue to monitor. This didn't sound very promising, but it was a waiting game, and no one could predict the outcome, not even Google. Dr. Devo didn't immediately make the decision to reinsert the stent because he didn't want me to go through this again if it wasn't absolutely necessary. I have spoken to Payne. He is confident he can put the stent in again, but this time we will sedate you, he informed me. So he was prepared for that to happen, but I was not. Are you trying to scare me? No, I'm very serious. We will continue to monitor for any development. You don't have to think about this yet. I will come to see you later. With that, his nurse wheeled me out. I had not seen her before. She was Kiyomi. She had to be new. I hoped it was not because the abominable Dr. Devo had frightened his previous nurse away. 7th June 2022, Tuesday. It is not getting any better. There is an increasing possibility we need to put the stent back in unless your kidney stops dilating, said Dr. Devo. There was also an important issue I needed to discuss with Dr. Devo. After my robotic surgery, Yoda had planned an island vacation up north, and it had been rescheduled due to complications with my stenting procedure. No one expected my stent removal to be delayed, and now the postponed date was looming near, and Yoda didn't want to reschedule again. Even before I recovered from COVID-19, Yoda had pushed Dr. Devo for a stent removal date in time for us to meet the date of the trip. However, at that time, Dr. Devo would have none of it and didn't want to commit until he had me observed at the hospital and made sure my condition settled. Dr. Devo felt that it was too soon after my recovery from COVID-19 and also from stent removal to be traipsing around. On the other hand, Yoda decided after what I had been through that I needed to get away and chill. There was also a suggestion that we remove the stent after our vacation. However, I was in pain and very prone to infection, so it might not be for the best. Dr. Devo was not comfortable that I would be more than 400 kilometers away from where he could treat me if an unfortunate situation arose. Throughout this battle of rationale, I was forced in between playing mediator. Looking at all the unforeseen aftermath that plagued me, being careful was justified. However, Yoda was relentless. After the ultrasound scan, I was back at Dr. Devo's desk. I am more concerned about COVID than UTI. This is not the time to move around, especially in your condition. What do you plan to do during your vacation? We are going to a beach resort. We would just be chilling there, not wandering around if that is what you are worried about. If that is the case, I don't see why not. When I discharge you, I will give you a course of antibiotics and painkillers that will cover any unforeseen infection. Thinking about what Bailey went through after her procedure, I was quiet and probably looked uncertain, which I was. Is there something that worries you? Tell me if you want to go on this vacation. If you don't want to, you just tell your husband I won't let you. You can always put the blame on me. That was very kind of him. At that point, I also realized not everything had to be about me. Enough people had been put through many inconveniences due to my absence, especially Yoda. The worst foreseeable thing that could happen would be pain and discomfort. Going on a vacation was no hardship. Also, I wouldn't want Dr. Devo to be disturbed by something so trivial. I will go. Give me what I need to bring along with me. Yes, go have a good time. I believe your husband needs a break badly. We can decide what to do when you come back. You have a good husband. You are very lucky. Yes, I was grateful for him every day, but luck had little to do with it. I had a good husband because I was also a good wife. If your temperature settles, you can go home tomorrow. I will prepare your discharge documents, but you cannot go until I say so. Yes, sir! Compromise is not an act of weakness. It demonstrates that you care for something or someone beyond yourself. Quoted unknown. 8 June 2022, Wednesday. WhatsApp. Dr. Devo said, I need to see you at my clinic before you go. I said, Yes, Your Excellency. He was a bossy fellow, so I waited and waited. Time seemed to pass more slowly when we were excited for a grand event, in this case, going home. I had not started packing since I would still have to wait for payment approval from my insurance company. By mid-morning, I was wheeled to his office. It's more bloated today. We have to put the stand back in. I can do it for you today, but you will have to cancel your vacation. His alarming announcement distressed me. Instantly, my pulse rate shot up. I was totally not prepared for this. Can it wait? The longer we wait, the more kinky your ureter will be, and it will be more difficult for pain. I shuddered at the mention of Dr. Payne. Can we do it from the bottom, your way? We can try. Staring at the ceiling while lying on Dr. Dewell's examination table, I was thinking about everything and nothing. I was very confused and undecided. He did not rush me into a decision, but I knew I couldn't just lie there and do nothing. Dr. Dewell had a very full waiting room, and I was keeping him. Covertly, I was still hoping that the stand would be unnecessary. I will go home today, go on this trip with my family. I will come back to see you immediately after. I know the risks involved. If the stand is still necessary, I promise I will not be difficult. I assured him. Okay, I shall inform the ward to release you. Have a good trip. As always, I am just a phone call away. Kermit decided I shouldn't be taking the train back on my own and insisted on coming to get me. I was thankful to be surrounded by amazing friends. I bought him lunch and I napped comfortably all the way home. Gratitude was a humbling emotion. It reminded me how much I had to be thankful for and how little I was in the grand scheme of things. Regardless of what happened or what was going to happen, I suddenly realized everyone was watching over me, and for that, I was already more fortunate than many. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to keep following the story, click here to listen to the next chapter. And if you're new, you can start from the beginning by listening to the full playlist here. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when the next chapter is released. Until then, take care, take a deep breath, and I'll see you in the next one.